Hi, welcome back to the Jack and Glen channel. I'm Jackie.
And I'm my husband, Glen.
He's my husband, Glen.
Hey, before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our reviews. As you notice, we are on a different location today. We're on vacation, but we still wanted to provide you with a Ready to Love review.
Yes, and it was quite eventful.
It was quite eventful, very interesting, and we start out with a bang.
Yes.
Big bang.
Yeah, we see AJ and Kyra continuing their conversation where he was actually supposed to let her go. But he doesn't turn her hand loose, and she was like, you're not letting my hand go, so what does that mean? I'm not ready to let you go. I want to see where this goes. And he was like, I changed my mind.
Yeah, she gave him the answer that he wanted to hear, though. She was like, I want to be with you, and
Which was not true.
Look, I really think AJ wanted Kyra anyway. I don't think he ever really wanted Alexis. I think he always wanted Kyra from the get-go. He wanted to make amends to being called El Cheapo for their first couple of dates, and right. He wanted to make amends since he saw her come to the ranch or where they were at the first time. He wanted Kyra. I just think that Alexis was a place to make him safe to get to this point. I think he used Alexis.
Well, I don't know. Like you said, in that moment, Kyra didn't even she didn't really choose him. She was just like, sure, let's see where it goes.
She didn't want to go home. And so right. she wanted to be safe. So what she did was she made the safe move. The safe move was like, you know what? I want to be with you, AJ, so let's do it and let's be safe.
Yeah. And so AJ's like, I understand that because I picked Kyra, that means that Alexis is going to have to go. And so next we see him talking to Alexis. And, he brings her in and, she's like, I'm nervous. I don't know what's getting ready to happen. And he says, I've always been straight up with you, and that's not going to stop today. I'm going to be straight up with you. Mm-hmm. And so he says, I think we'll always be in each other's lives. And she's like, I'm like, oh, maybe he's going to say, yes, it's you for me, and it's me for you. And unfortunately, he's like, no, I'm not sure that I can be truly what you want and what you need. And he just like, I'm sorry, you're not ready to love.
And she was hurt.
I would be hurt too, because
she was hurt.
She picked Ron. She picked AJ over Ron. And she really grappled with it. That was really hard for her. But she told Ron he wasn't ready to love, and so she actively chose AJ. And I'd be hurt too, because then you want to pick the person that's torn between two people? Like, really?
But it wasn't a bad move for her to get rid of Ron, because Ron really wasn't in love with her in the first place. So
ain't nobody in love with anybody.
Not in love, but you know what I mean, though. It wasn't love, but it was more so of an infatuation or whatever. That she didn't want to send Ron home, but it was agonizing, as you mentioned. But AJ gave her that kiss before the elimination, and she felt something. Like, he made it seem like it was a genuine kiss. And so she was like, you know what, AJ is the one that I want.
And she even said in that moment, when he grabbed her hand, she was like, okay, here it go again,
Mm-hmm.
Those feelings that I get when he touched me. But she said she was hurt. She felt backstabbed because, like she said, I chose him and he opted not to choose me. And even when he let Alexis go, he said he's still not walking in surety about his choice.
But why did he make the choice? Well, if you're not walking in surety about your choice, and it's contemplating, you chose Kyra for a reason. There was something Kyra had that Alexis didn't have. Mm-hmm. It was something that you were, whether it's the body, whether it's the communication, whatever it is, it was something he chose because that's what he wanted.
Well, he said before, when he's talked to Alexis before, we all have choices to make. So he said the choices, am I going to go for what's safe and what's expected, or do I go with the unexpected, what's more exciting or whatever, what then I'm not really sure where it's gonna go. And ultimately to him, Alexis was the safer choice, and he didn't want to go that way.
She was the safer choice.
Which is, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong that he wanted to try an opportunity with Kyra again and see how it would progress and see where it would go. and that's what he did, and that's what he chose. So do I fault him? Do I blame him for that? No. He had to make a decision. He had to send one of the two ladies home. And I guess he figured, let me make a decision to keep me in a good place and where I can make my mind. And I think he saw himself better with Kyra than Alexis. I really might even think it might even be the kid situation.
You said that before, but I don't even think that's on his mind at all.
So that's something you have to deal with, though. You're going into a ready-made family. You're going into already having a son. You're going to have to deal with other parents. So now I can at least have mine or whatever if it gets to that point with this other person and not have to worry about that other type of drama.
Yeah.
And Alexis said, as she left, as she normally God took me here and brought me here for a reason, and I guess it wasn't meant to be, and she walked off crying.
And really what she said was, apparently I wasn't ready or in a space where that person, it was time for me to meet that person.
Yeah.
And so prayerfully, I'll get to the point where I'm at a place where I need to be happy. I'm happy with myself and settled with myself. And then that person, God will bring that person into my life.
Only time will tell.
I don't know. All right, so then we see all the ladies meet up with Tommy.
Yeah.
And they come in like one by one. And Kyra's the last person to come in, and Liz is like, what?
What are you doing over here still?
What?
Like, what is she still doing here? Like, she already knew, like, can't be, why AJ choose Kyra? Because now Liz is thinking like, okay, if AJ chose Kyra, and Kyra's still here, that means Jason may still want to have an interaction or relationship with Kyra, and I may be SOL.
Yeah, she's like looking shocked, trying to figure out why she's still here. Yeah. And so Tommy brings up the elephant in the room. Obviously, he was like, we're missing a big presence. Alexis is not here, but I'm sure she'll find love at some place. And he tells the ladies this, so now you're going to be going on your last one-on-one date. I want you to spend intimate time together and see if you could put just the idea of a relationship and transition that into being a couple. Can you see yourself being a couple? And he's like, feel it out, discuss the future, listen to your heart. And at the end of the week, it may be one guy who's not ready to love.
Maybe one guy who's not ready to love. What guy go home? And I'm sitting here thinking like, who will they listen to? What relationship will they break up?
Everybody is pretty much matched up. The only one that's the crapshoot is Kyra, because she really could go between the two, but when it came down to it before they left the ranch, Jason picked Liz.
Yeah, so Kyra would be the one that would make a decision whether it would be AJ who went home or Jason. But if you think about it, if Jason would have went home, her and Liz would be beefing, because that means Liz would gotta go and they wouldn't have anybody. So if there's some complication in this based off Kyra's decision.
Yeah. And so Kyra shares with the group the conversation that she had with AJ, and she told him she didn't want to yo-yo back and forth, and he told her he changed his mind. And in the conversation with what they talked about and the feelings, he changed his mind. So he didn't want to let Kyra go. He opted to let Alexis go. And the ladies are like, but in the whole conversation, like, and I think Amber said, it's like, but did you actually choose him? Like, did you say, okay, you're my choice? And
she couldn't do it.
She didn't do it, and she acknowledged that she didn't. And in her little vignette or whatever, she was like, I feel awkward because I want to pursue this connection with AJ, but I also have unfinished business with Jason. Yeah,
she said she had unfinished business with Jason, but really was it? Because she really ever told Jason that she really wanted a relationship with him. And she left it blank, knowing that Jason had feelings with Liz and that he has been spending more time with Liz.
But her thing is, she said she has unfinished business with him because he chose Liz, but based on their last conversation, she's like, that's not making sense to me because that's not what you said to me. And she said she's still interested in both of the guys. And so Liz said it doesn't look like how she tried to make it look like it was Jason's second pick. Like the way Kyra talked about it, it was like, oh, Jason picked you because I didn't pick him. Mm-hmm. So he defaulted to the second person. And Liz was like, no, we've had just as strong a connection as the two of y'all have. It wasn't 1 and 2, it was 1. We was tied at 1.
Yeah, and and when they got to that point, you could start seeing the tension between the two because they fighting for the same man. And Venetia and they were just sitting there just looking. They didn't want them to, they didn't get ugly or nasty, but you can feel the snippiness that was in the room. Oh,
absolutely, because Vernicia's like, asked Liz, how do you feel about this,
Yeah.
And Liz was like, I feel like me and Jason are solid, I'm ready to take the challenge. We're gonna see what happens with us. And we do take a minute from that. And we leave that conversation because it was kind of awkward. We'll come back to that because it does resurface that whole awkwardness. But we see the one-on-one dates. Joelle goes to Vernicia's house, and she says she's excited about spending more intimate time with him. And she cooked him a meal and fixed his plate and had his wine there. And they both talked about how going on a ranch trip gave them both clarity.
Yeah.
They liked how, even though they had their little tiff, that they worked through it. They were able to get past it.
I think that was the key for them because they needed to have a tiff. And they had a tiff beforehand, and when they had that tiff, he chose Kyra. And so now, when that brought back up again, he was able to handle it with the help of Chris, because KG Smooth gave him some good advice, like, I need you to go do this. You need to let her know that you want her. And she couldn't avoid that. And so they were able to have that communication, spend that time together, sleep in the same room together, and relax and enjoy each other's company. And I think that would make their relationship stronger. And she gets to the point and she asks me, is it just us? I like us and this is what you want to do. And Joelle was like, yeah, baby.
Well, yeah, and what he said to her, I heard you chose me.
Yeah.
And she said, I didn't never not chose you. There wasn't a time when I didn't choose you. Unlike you, when you were upset with me, you chose Kyra.
I didn't like that because she brought it back up. Leave it alone.
Well,
let it die. Let it die.
But he brought it up because he was talking about the fact that she chose. So she was like, speaking and choosing.
But she could have said it. She could have said it without saying that. You know what? I never not chose you. But we got over that and let's move on. And they are moving on. But
and like I said, he took it in stride. He says, you've always been my number one. Even when I said you weren't, you were my number one. I was basically just saying that. So she said she's secure where she is. And he was like, let's continue to see where this goes, and like where we're at.
Yep, and they had a nice little intimate date and meal, and Joelle got some kisses. Baby, you got some kisses, baby.
All right, next we see Liz and Jason go out, and he feels now since Jason is not going back and forth. He said,
he felt like
living my best life, ain't going back and
He
forth.
felt like the load is lifted.
That's absolutely what he said.
When Kyra gave him his answer and he chose Liz, he's like, you know what? I'm free. It's like the load is off me. This is who I want. I want Liz, and I am pursuing this woman until the end.
And and there's no back and forth. It had to be hard, going back and forth between the two. And so he feels like that load is lifted because I don't have to focus on two people. I can just focus on this one person.
I put my attention on her.
Yeah, and he says when he and Liz are talking, it's like, okay, what if at the ranch? She asked him, what if at the ranch Kyra chose you? And he said it would have been the same for me.
Yeah,
because she was indecisive. Up until that point, she'd been indecisive. Yeah. And so the whole goal of this is to make a choice. Now, it's not like the Bachelor or none of those kind of shows, not Married at First Sight. You know what I'm saying? So the choice you're making is not, I'm going to marry this person. The choice is that I'm just going to date this person.
I'm going to date.
I'm not going to, this is who I want to see where it can go. And for real, that was his problem with Kyra. It's like, why you can't say, yes, I would rather date you than date them.
Yeah, and with him being there, he really broke it down for Liz and told him, like, this is what I want. He's honest. One thing I like about Jason is that he's kind of straightforward. He wanted to be able to be relaxed, to be able to pursue her, and he was able to do so. So now she got the answer she wanted, the clarity, because he said what he said that was key was I had made my decision weeks ago, which we're gonna revisit that later. But he said I had made my decision weeks ago.
Yeah, we'll revisit that later. I feel like he probably was telling the truth. I made my decision weeks ago, meaning that if this person couldn't honestly say, I want to be with you, then I know which way I'm going to go.
I know which way I'm going to flow.
Yeah, but he said his mind was already made up. And he was like, hold on, I'll be right back. I got to leave the table. So he left the table and he came back with a single white rose.
A single white rose.
Man, let me tell you, Brother Jason was putting it on rather thick. I'm not saying he didn't mean it.
Brother Jason said he only given two other women that white rose.
And that was his mom and his stepmom. And he was like, it's the white rose specifically because it represents purity, honesty, resiliency. And I'm giving you this white rose because I want you to know that you're worth it. You're worth my time and you're worth the pursuit. And Liz was like, she ate it up.
She ate it up and she melted right there.
She should have eaten
I'm not saying Jason was faking, not saying nothing.
Absolutely
she melted right then and there. She hugged him, she cried, she hugged him again, she cried and gave him some kisses.
Yeah.
So she couldn't help it. And once again, Jason really he got the one that he wants. And he got the one, he chose Liz, and guess what? I'm going to be with her. And so at that point, if his mind wasn't made up weeks ago, when he gave her the rose, there's no turning back for him. His mind is fixed on Liz is the one.
And I'm not mad at him. Go ahead. Like I said, again, it's not like we're saying, I'm going to marry this person tomorrow. By the end of this, we're going to get married. That's not the point of this show. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm not mad at him either. He found somebody who is a great communicator, somebody who has the same values as him, somebody who he wants to deal with, and guess what? Keep it moving.
Yeah. All right. So next we see Chris and Amber, and they go out, and Chris starts by saying, I haven't seen her since we left the ranch. Mm-hmm. And he's a little apprehensive, after the ranch and the whole blow up with the kiss with Ron and the whole conversation. People have asked him, how you feel about the Ron thing. And so that's what he wants to talk to her about when he comes in. And she's like, he's like, look, let me just ask, where you at with that? She's like, I don't talk to him. I stopped communication. Like I told you, it was just a kiss. I just didn't tell him not to because I don't want to embarrass him.
In front of his friends. Yeah, and look, Chris understood that, and I think she understood and what she told him. And it was willing and ready to move on. And no big deal. Again, it is a show where you date other people. Yeah. And so she dated other person. She had kissed Joel. There's not a big issue there. But even though she kissed him on the cheek, you know what I'm saying? So guess what? She kissed Ron. She didn't like it. Didn't want to embarrass him. There's no deep, intimate relationship with there. So Chris is fine. He believed her and was like, you know what? Let's move forward.
Yeah, because she reassured him that it's just you. And so, he lets her know, you make me feel so comfortable and I feel secure and we can talk about everything. So, it's like we talk about kids, how many kids you want, 3, 4, 5. And she's like, well, I want at least one kid. But it had to be when we was married, which I thought was interesting because they had this whole conversation about marriage before and it made it sound like they didn't want to get married.
Well, I think what they were saying before, marriage is not the deal breaker, but if it gets there, we'll get married. We'll still be together and not be married. We can do that, it's fine, but when the other one wants to take it to that level, we'll get there and be married with them. So I don't think they're ever against marriage. It's just the process and how long it takes to get there.
Yeah, and so, she was like, I have to be married first. And he was like, well, yeah, it would have to be when we get married because I'm not having sex till I get married. And she's like, what?
Her mom was like, huh?
What?
Like, you're not doing what? Like, hold on for a minute. I decided.
This is new. we've talked about a lot.
Yeah,
this is new.
I didn't sign up for this.
Nah, and he came up with, he told her about a term Amber hadn't heard of, and we hadn't heard of it either. He said, I am practicing semen retention.
Semen retention. He's on a semen retention plan.
He's on the semen retention.
The SRP.
No.
The semen retention plan.
He's like,
and he's been retaining a whole bunch of semen.
The soldiers that have not given them the go ahead to go out to war. I have not.
He's increasing them soldiers, that battalion for a long time.
But what he said to her, he was like, don't count me out. He said, basically he was saying that if I feel like we're leading to the marriage thing, he was like, I'm not saying never ever,
right,
but we would have to be going down that road for me. Because he says, I've wasted a lot of time and given of myself to people who, this is a precious thing, and I wasted time and energy and giving it to people who didn't deserve it.
And what I like what he said too was that, again, that part where he had recognized and given it to everybody and they didn't deserve it. But he said to her, what she said to him was, oh, we're gonna get that. It's gonna happen. And she was like, it's gonna happen. If you want to do it, it's gonna happen. And it made me think, we both thought, if that was a man saying that to a woman, we would have had some issues.
Yeah, I was
like if a man was saying, you know what, let's say Liz and David, because Liz told David that she was celibate, and David would have been like, oh, I'm gonna get that.
Well, she told Jason too.
Oh, she told Jason too.
Yeah, and this was my thing. We talked about this with Amber's reaction. It was like, instead of her saying, okay, I understand that, I might can work with that, straight up, she was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna break that down.
I'll break that wall down.
Before it's all said and done, you're gonna give me some. You're gonna want to give me something. I'm gonna work on that. She said, I deserve that energy. I want you to know. Yeah, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. I deserve that energy.
And if you look at it, she was really starting to break him down then. Because she really was starting to break him down then with the comments and what she was saying. And Chris looked like he was getting a little weak.
Yeah, because she said, I'm bringing it out of you. I'm like, sis, let that man do what he do. I was not, like my husband said, if it had been a man, one of the men saying that to Liz, it would be a problem. But I didn't feel comfortable with Amber saying, I was like, respect that man's boundaries. I feel like she didn't give him any respect for his boundaries. Her whole thing was, basically, I'm gonna make you come out of your conviction.
Yeah.
What?
Like, regardless of what you think and what I believe, guess what? This is what we're gonna do, and this is how I'm gonna pull you out of it.
He was like, look, if you bring me out, I'm trying to tell you, I got some super soldiers, so you might as well just know you're gonna get knocked out.
I got some billions of super. And I laugh because you get knocked up. So Chris, you're not gonna use protection?
He said, I'm backed up.
So you already know when this happens, this go down, you ain't gonna use no protection whatsoever. You just can go.
Yeah, he's I'm back up, and he was like, don't sleep now. He said, because I've been feeling you. It's been hard. He said, because I've been looking at your booty.
I've been looking at your booty.
And it's been hard, but I've been doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I think in that respect, he was like, you act like I haven't desired you. So I got some willpower now. So for all that you think you're gonna pull out of me, it might not be that easy. Because I've been hanging on. I've been hanging on. And
guess what? I got enough willpower now to keep it moving.
Yeah. So. All right. So next we see Kyra go out with AJ. Mm-hmm. And they talk about how they've always had a connection. She's like, I really like AJ a lot. But when they went out before, it was like all her eggs were in a basket with Jason, and she really couldn't focus on AJ. No. So now that she's made a decision, not really.
That he made a decision.
Right. Because she didn't.
She did. He made a decision.
She can focus on him. And same thing with Chris and Amber. AJ says this is the first time he's seen Kyra since they left the ranch. And it's like, where are you? I want to see where you are. And it's her intention to move forward. I want to know, where do we stand? And he said,
You gotta ask that question.
Yeah, where you stand there? He said you gotta ask that question and with the world.
We got a problem, which means this. Where we stand is that let's build this relationship. Where we stand is let's try to keep this thing going. Where we stand is I sent somebody home and I hadn't talked to you since we've been back. Where we stand is that you allowed me to be able to be close to you, and I'm close to me, and you close to me, and let's move on in this relationship. Let's have these tough conversations, and let's make the road better for these next couple of days. So when we get together, it's much better. That's why. If you gotta ask that question, come on. He wanted her to bring some personality in. He wanted her to bring some criticism or whatever. Just be involved.
And so he was like, look, you got all my attention. You know, I want to take this as a second chance. And, you know, I'm still not sure that it's the right decision. You know, but I look at it like, which would you most regret? Like, I look at it like that. Which would you regret the most if you didn't make that decision? When that's how he looks at making a decision. Not if it's right or wrong, but which one would I regret the most if I didn't at least try? And so that's why he went, you know, with Kyra. And again, she says, I'm still having reservations on a connection with Jason. Jason's still in the picture.
Look, she is delusional. The dude saved you.
He's not
The dude saved you. He brought you back to the game, and you're still playing like, who do I want next? Or do I want DJ? Or do I want Jason? Come on, the dude saved you. You was out the door.
Yeah.
You was gone. So
that's the only reason why he came to talk to you at that point, because he was supposed to be letting you go.
He was supposed to be letting you go. He brought you back. And so who you should be committed to? You should be committed to AJ.
Yeah. So after that, we see the ladies meet back up with Tommy. Amber says that she and Chris had a good time. They spent more intimate time. You know, they cried. They were talking about how he feels, and then she shared the fact that he's on the SRP, the Semen Retention Plan.
He's part of the SRP.
The celibacy.
Celibacy.
Because they were like, what's that? This is word for celibacy.
This is word for celibacy.
And she was just talking about how it caught her off guard, and it's hard for her to wait. She's like, it's hard for me to wait. And she never was like, you know, I'm gonna work with him. She still was like, oh, I'm finna get me some. I heard what he said.
I already said, but when you see me in this dress or see me here, he'll change his mind.
Gosh, that made me so mad. I'm sorry. That irked me so bad. Vernisha talks about how her date with Joelle went, that they talked about the ranch and how they overcame the situation, the miscommunication that they had. Liz talks about her date with Jason. She says, I'm on cloud 9. He said he made his decision weeks ago. And Kyra's like,
Kyra, this is what was funny to me. Kyra, like, you know how you just tell your kid, you're in a moment with your kids and they just bust out laughing?
It's a serious moment.
In a serious moment, they just bust out laughing? That's what Kyra like, that's what he told you? That's not what he's telling me. Like, she said it like she had inside information.
Yeah, what she said in her vignette is, you know, it's like what Liz said was comical to her, because the fact that Liz is being celibate, and that's an important thing to her, but based on the conversations that Kyra has had with Jason, like, he is far from that. My conversations never went that way with him. And so then she explains in the group, you know, I'm going to tell you why I giggled. I didn't giggle to be offensive, but because it was made to sound like I was playing a game.
Yeah.
But it really seems like he's playing a game.
She implied that Jason was playing a game. Jason I don't think he played a game. I think he was true to what he had. When he saw Liz at the masquerade ball, he was like, you know what, I'm gonna pursue her. And guess what? Ever since that masquerade ball, from what we saw on TV, and I'm not gonna say anything else, but for what we saw on TV, he pursued her. And whether it was created by production, whether it was created by both of them, he pursued her. So guess what? He did it the correct way. He wasn't playing games, in my opinion. Because she couldn't give him answers, and he was trying to fill both. He was trying to make a conscious decision because, again, he wanted to do this to be a life decision. Yeah,
because Kyra said that part about him making his decision weeks ago, because that's not the impression that he gave me the last time we had our one-on-one date at the ranch. I don't know where that's coming from. But Liz said, based on what Jason told her, is that, you know, he pressed her to make a choice and she couldn't make a choice. And so that made his decision for him. That her behavior was disingenuous and that he needed to hear from her mouth that she was choosing him and to see where she stood, and she could not give that to Jason. And so as a result,
he moved on.
He moved on. That settles it. If you can't say that you want to be with me, and I have somebody that is, like, I'm interested in both of y'all, but I'm not moving forward with somebody who's not going to do the same for me.
But it goes to this too. I mean, that's like in real life. If you got somebody who's not committed to you, why still be with them?
Right.
If you got somebody you're dating, they can't show you around family or take you anywhere or mention your name in a sentence, why still be with them? So that's how it was playing out. You know, and that's how it was playing out. And so we down to the nitty gritty here. And so they kind of hashed it out a little bit ladylike, because Liz was such a lady in this.
She was.
And so was Kyra. They never really we didn't see no potential love and hip hop moments. But they handled it like women. And
the one thing Kyra said was that to her, Jason's behavior was disingenuous, and because Liz's other option in the game was gone. That's really why, when I hate to say in the game, and they're not in competition either, but because that's why it made it easier for Jason to pick her, because she didn't have anything and anybody else to default to.
Right.
You know?
I mean, Liz only had David and Jason. Mm-hmm. David went self-eliminated. All right, he self-eliminated himself. And that left Liz with just Jason. So, and they've been hanging tough ever since. Yeah, and Kyra took it like the way Jason handled it. That's a sign that that he would mishandle her in real life. Mm-hmm. And so with that, Tommy was like, it seems like you got some conversations that need to be had. 'Cause she talked about how she and AJ went out and how he has supported her decision-making process. And her decision-making process is basically, I'm not making no decision now. Yeah, I'm not making no decision. And so, Tommy says, so then based on this, you need to go but before that, based on that, we have like 4 couples. So no guy is leaving. Nobody's leaving. Because there's no toss-up with the guys. Really, it's a toss-up with a girl. If anybody would go, it'd be one of the girls. And either Liz or Kyra. Right. And if somebody had to go home, it'd be either Liz or Kyra, and neither one of them wanted that to happen. Nor did the show want that to happen. So nobody wanted. They decided to keep all 4 couples. Yep, they're going into the last week. And which all 4 couples. It would be interesting TV to see them actually. We said it was going to end up like that. I couldn't see them sending, the way the numbers were working out, you couldn't see them sending any one person home. Just couldn't happen. It wouldn't happen, because then you would create a rift between the women as there. Imagine sending Joelle home and y'all the bottom 4. Can you imagine Venetia comment and what you have? That's where it was at. So I think we talked about this last week. What would end up happening is you wouldn't be eliminating one person. You would have to eliminate a whole couple. If you want to have 3, because basically we're down to 4, you would have to eliminate the whole couple. Yeah, Tommy says, we're going into the last week with 4 couples, and the last thing is that it has to be a 2-way communication, and both of y'all have to decide to move forward with each other. Yeah. And in that conversation, Amber questioned Kyra if she's choosing AJ, because Jason didn't choose her. And Kyra says, no, that's not why. That's not the case. But she does have to have some conversation. She needs to have some closure with Jason. And so that's where she goes next. She goes to have a conversation with Jason. And, he was confused that he even got a call from her. His mind has been made up. What else do we have to talk about? You couldn't make your mind up. Once I said I'm going with Liz, that's where I'm focusing my energy. And he shared that to her, and did he share it kind of aggressively? Yeah, he wanted to get his point across. Yeah, but he said, I'm okay with clearing the air if that's what we're going to do. But we're going to keep this conversation on target. We're not going to get off track. Yeah, we're going to stray different ways. And every time he would try to go that way, he was willing to bring her back in and provide her with information like, hey, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, the one thing he did acknowledge, he said, okay, so I did tell Liz that my decision was made weeks ago, and that's on me. Because that's not completely true, and I did tell her that, so that's on me. But
he took ownership. He took ownership of that. But again, he shouldn't have lied to Liz. We come to find out at the end that was a lie. In his mind,
with exaggeration.
Exaggeration is still a lie. So,
I think what it is just like you said. He hadn't actually made his decision, but I think he made his decision like, if I can't get a straight up answer, then I'm going to go with the person. That's the decision. That's where his mind was made up. That I've decided that if I can't hear from somebody that says they want to continue this with me, then I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's what he did. I mean, so he went somewhere else with Kyra, and he ended up with Liz, and so the conversation took a turn. I think, Kyra wanted an answer.
Yeah, because he said at the tennis court, what he needed was clarity, and now he still doesn't know where she's at. He says their last moments together, it felt like it was an interrogation. You're interrogating me. And she was like, I was just trying to get answers to my questions. And he was like, but you can answer your questions instead of enjoying the moment. Like, why can't we just be in this moment?
We also said, we ain't gonna do this here. I'm not gonna do this now. You're not gonna drag me down this hole. You're not gonna make it messy. You're not gonna I'm not going this. Jason was like, you know what? I recognize what's going on, and this is not gonna happen. Yeah.
Well, when she got there, yeah, absolutely. He was like, let's just move forward. We're not gonna tear each other down. He asked her, Kyra, what is it that you want?
Yeah.
What is it that you want? And he's like, the direction he feels like, what have I done so bad? What I had, that was the whole point. I did my best to be direct with you. And she was like, but you didn't. Mm-hmm. You weren't direct. And he said, I wanted it to be, Kyra is about, she said, I wanted it to be, it's about Kyra's decision, not it's your decision for you, for what Jason and in Jason's timing. That was the whole thing. I want to make my decision in my timing. I'm not making my decision for you.
She can't do that because she's bound on the time frame. You're bound on the show. There got to be certain timings, so she can't create her own time and expect to stay around because guess what? If you snooze, you lose. And she almost lost because she took her time making the decision. Not saying from day one, about the day one, Jason, I choose you, or after the first conversation. Again, when they had that conversation in the earlier episodes at the table and found out about depression and everything, there was a connection that was there. Again, Jason didn't really get a connection with Liz until weeks later when he saw her at the ball. But there was a relationship between Kyra and Jason that was deep. That was real deep. So I can see where he wants clarity and she wants clarity. But at this point, he already has the clarity he needed because he already chose Liz. So it's regardless of what she says.
But her thing is the clarity she wants is saying. So if things had gone differently, if I had related differently, would you have chose differently? He said no.
No.
He said no. And in the end, her decision is for them to remain friends. Yeah. And, I hate that there's some discord between the two of us, that caused him to choose someone else. And she felt she had been 100, but he says, no, I don't think so. Yeah. And so in the end, again, she said, she thought that Jason would be the one to handle her heart correctly and with care. And it turns out that she didn't think AJ would be that person, but it was Jason that she needed to watch out for. So I'm just like, chick, let it go. He didn't pick you.
He didn't pick you. Focus on AJ.
AJ did.
Focus on AJ.
Worry about AJ.
But she wanted to get closure. She needed to know. She needed to know, is it Liz or is it me? She still, do I have a shot? And guess what? And I think Jason did, he owed her that though. Because if she's back and you was feeling her, I think you do kind of owe her a little bit. You know what? It's not going to work out. It's not going to go that way. I think he do owe her that. Because she couldn't give her an answer, and he should be able to give her an answer. So you know what? It's not working out.
But he gave her that answer. He was like, because you can't choose, because you can't settle. Again, like you said, I'm going to have to go. I can't.
but she wanted to hear it again. She is torn. She really liked Jason, but she's torn. Even though AJ's there, she's still torn. I think it becomes I want to beat Liz out. What can I do basically to beat Liz out?
I don't know if it's it.
That's just the way I look at it. I'm looking at her being a competitive nature because, again, she wants Jason because she's not really sure about AJ. Mm-hmm. She's grateful that AJ saved her. She's grateful that AJ is there, but he's not sure because figure a couple hours later, AJ was getting ready to put her out the door. You know what I'm saying? So if Alexis comes back not come back in the picture, why were you so close to get ready to boot me? Now we change up. What do I have to do so you won't drop me in case drop me next time? Mm-hmm. Has our relationship gotten that much deeper?
So anyway, we see all the couples meet up for the final dinner. Kyra said, I didn't think I would feel any type of way when I saw Liz and Jason, but I did. It really got under my skin. She felt some type of way when she saw them. She said she likes AJ a lot and is focused on him wholeheartedly, but she does still have some reservation, and that is the thing that Jason wanted to avoid. And so I think he lucked up.
Yeah, and I think he lucked up too. I think she is going to be with AJ, but I think the reservations there is going to hinder her.
Yeah, because she said, I don't know if I know him well enough to say in this moment right now that I'm ready to make a commitment to him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you shouldn't have let him say, you should have been like, you know what, AJ, let me go.
But she wanted to be on. She really thought it was going to be AJ. She wanted that second chance as well. And she's not going to self-eliminate. That's who she is. She's a competitor by nature, and she wants to win this thing. She wants to have a man. She come there to be ready for love. And we'll find out if AJ chooses her and she chooses AJ, because it's going to happen. Yeah. I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to choose each other. And then I think they'll get to know each other even more so than they do currently.
And so Tommy shows up at the last dinner and was like, okay, so here's the next thing. So we got these 4 couples here. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like whenever you date anybody, what's the litmus test for them to meet your family? So it's time to meet the families. And AJ's like, I'm thrown for a curve. I feel like it's too early for me dealing with a female for them to meet my family. And I'm hoping that it just don't go off the rails. Amber was like, she's nervous. She said, I'm a handful. So you can just imagine how my family is. And Kyra tells AJ, you know, wow, you gotta meet my family. And, you know, I really look to my mom to help me with decisions or whatever. And so she's like, if my mom says no, it's gonna be hard for me to say yes if she says
it's gonna be rap. Mom got that special detective intuition, women intuition to let you know what, baby, that's not the one.
Yeah.
Nah, that's not the one. So I think she's correct there. You do have to listen.
Yeah, and Liz asked Jason, okay, what's your mom like? He was like, yeah, my mom is a female me, so.
Yeah, mom's female me.
We're gonna see how
I think Liz will do well because of the whole religious piece. If you can add that into it.
Well, she's sweet. And I'm not saying Kyra's not sweet, but Liz is nice and sweet and kind. Yeah. She's like the girl next door. I can't imagine anybody wouldn't like Liz. Yeah. And I'm not saying they wouldn't like Kyra, but
Liz gives you more. Liz is safe. Yeah. Liz is safe. Let's be honest. It is what it is. Liz is safe. Liz is comfortable. Liz, you can take anywhere, any surrounding, any area, and not have to worry about being embarrassed or worry about her being late. Liz is going to be. She is the safe pick.
Yeah.
She's a safe pick. So
that's where we are. 4 couples. They're going to be meeting family members next week. It's going to be interesting. And then they have to meet each other out there, and hopefully both people show up, and hopefully both people are ready to love me and go forward outside of the show.
Yeah, so we'll be interested next week to see which way this plays. Is this regular season finale of the show Ready to Love next week. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button here. Make sure you hit the bell notification. As we mentioned earlier, we're on vacation, so sorry we don't have our regular set. But I like this little place.
And I got to wear green.
And you got to wear green today. So guess what? It's fun. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of our reviews. Give us a thought. What do you think? Is Kyra really in love with Jason, or Kyra's just
You mean AJ?
I mean AJ, excuse me. Kyra in love with AJ, or is she just happy to be there?
She's just happy to be there.
Hey, let us know in the comment section below.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.